Hey guys, it's Ryan here with HobbiesofaMan once again, and today we're going to be talking about Percy Jackson show. So, last time I made a video about this, I had a lot of interactions. I really appreciate everyone that commented and took the time to be in that comment section. I really appreciate all of you. I'm so thankful that so many people interacted with me. It's actually probably the most successful video I've ever had on this channel. And it's also the video that I've had the most interactions with overall on this channel. I really appreciate everyone that took the time to make comments. I hope to see you guys again in this comment section. But if I don't, I appreciate you anyways. It was really nice to see so many people supporting me and being, understanding of my feelings and sharing their own. I really liked it. I thought that was actually one of the greatest experiences I've had on YouTube. And it's actually surprising because I felt like that was a negative video. One that wasn't really going with the grain in terms of things related to the show. I've seen mostly people being very positive, except for the mythology guy. He has also been kind of negative on the show, although he is a lot more, he's a little bit more willing to put his deuces up, if that makes sense. He's a little bit more he uses more fighting word vocabulary with his reviews about the series. And I appreciate that. However, that's not really what I wanted to do myself. At least not with Percy Jackson. With Wheel of Time, I'm willing to fight it out, duke it out, and also with Star Wars. But Percy Jackson is a series that, although it is about fighting and stuff like that, I really appreciated because it was a really nice, I don't know, it was just nice to me. Something about it was very, safe and enjoyable to me. And so I'm not really interested in coming at people swinging when it comes to this community. But I watched the finale. I actually took quite a few days to watch it. I didn't watch it immediately as it came out. And honestly, that seems to be pretty damning to me. The fact that I was not excited to watch the next episode. Even with the Wheel of Time, which I don't like. I don't like the adaptation. I was maybe not excited. Maybe I was hateful at that point. But I was willing to sit down immediately as I came out to watch the show, so that I could consume all the content around the show about people talking about their feelings about the show. I did not do that with Percy Jackson, and actually after the show came out, it took me another 5 days to get around to watching it. And I think that's pretty bad. I was not excited about the show. I'm a huge fan of the books, and I was not excited. That's bad. However, once I watched it, I thought that it was good. I liked the last episode. I thought it was very strong. Actually, I wish more episodes in the show had been of this quality, of this level. I think that they were really, really good. This last episode was probably my favorite episode. I think there was quite a few changes from the source material, mostly due to the fact that they changed things early on in the story, and so they had to be changed here. However, it was a satisfying conclusion to the story. And so it does bring my enjoyment of the story, of the show, of the season up, but it doesn't save it from being pretty mediocre. Now, I don't like saying the word mid, but I do think that this show falls in that category. To me, this show, this season was mid. And I don't think it's me that's the problem anymore. I think that it definitely is the show. It definitely is the way the show is handled, but that makes me still upset. It makes me not sure that is the right wording, because Rick Riordan is the man that created the original series, the man that made my childhood really cool, right? Because we're not talking about Harry Potter, right? That's the skeleton in the closet that no one really wants to talk about anymore, with good reason. J.K. Rowling sucks. But Percy Jackson was, number 2 or maybe number 3 in terms of series that I loved growing up. Especially at the age that when I was reading Percy Jackson and the Heroes of Olympus was coming out. I think my favorite series at that point were Percy Jackson, The Hunger Games. I really like The Hunger Games. I Am Number 4, which is also a really problematic series. And of course, Harry Potter. So Percy Jackson was in my top series for sure. And so Rick Riordan was an important aspect in that, right? Now, I don't really care about authors. However, I do appreciate when they're related, when they're working with people that are adapting their stuff. And in this case, actually, Rick Riordan was spearheading the adaptation as far as I understand it. And the fact that he was so intimately tied, and he made changes that I didn't like, and the show didn't feel good to watch. Like, I did not have, like, the feeling that I had when reading the books. Makes me upset. Because, like, I don't feel that I can be mad at the fact that this show is not up to par. And I don't necessarily have to be mad. Like, ultimately, it is just a show. I can move on. I can just read the books. But it feels like I was robbed of an emotion that I should have had because I can't rationalize being angry about it, if that makes sense. Now, maybe this is like a weird topic, a weird thing to talk about. It might not really work. I wouldn't really... Maybe it's like a parasocial thing. I'm not really sure. Like, I've never put stock in authors as people that I need to care about. I rarely do. The only author I like follow and I'm interested in hearing what they say is Brandon Sanderson. And that's only because he is the reason I got back into reading after I left high school. And you know, he's great. And he's very nice. He has his own problems and things I disagree with. I don't like religion. He's very religious. Fundamentally incompatible. However, I really appreciate where he comes from and what he talks about. And I really like his lessons, right? But he's the only author I give a shit about, like as a person. All the other ones are just nebulous entities that exist, and I only know their name and nothing else about them. And Rick Riordan is one such author, right? One person that is nebulously tied to something I care about. But one that I gave a little bit of a shit about. And him being so tied to an adaptation of his work that I don't like, me knowing that the changes were allowed, that were part of his desire, feels like I can't be angry about it. Because, like, I can't be angry at the guy that created things, this thing that I love, for changing this thing that I love. And that feels kind of weird. And like I said, maybe it's a parasocial thing. I'm not really sure. I don't think so. But it feels kind of odd. Like I don't know why I went on this like emotional odyssey with this show, because I feel like I shouldn't. It's not that important, right? Like I said before, I think I grew out of Percy Jackson. I have not read the series in many, many years, although the last book I did pick up was relatively recently, as in the last 5 years, and it was The Son of Neptune. And I actually have been having a craving to read that book for the last couple of years that I've just not indulged in, right? But I don't know why I went on this emotional roller coaster, or this emotional odyssey, this emotional kind of like realization with the series. But I think it's been interesting to me. And I do appreciate the show for kind of taking me on this journey, but I'm not sure that I was ready to go on it, right? If that makes sense. So anyway, let's talk about the show, because I think I've talked about my feelings a lot. So the show, it's not good. Ultimately, I don't think it's good. I don't think it's as bad as it might have been, but at this point, where we've seen amazing adaptations, like One Piece, like Invincible, like Lord of the Rings, I guess. I mean, I'm not a Lord of the Rings guy. I have not read the books. I've not seen the movies. I don't care to watch them. I think that there's a lot of hype around Lord of the Rings that maybe isn't deserved. I don't know. I'm not sure. I just feel like it's one of those things that is just popular because so many people have said it's popular for many years. And there's a lot of things I feel like that about. But many people say that it's a good adaptation. Many people like it. I don't have an opinion on it, but I don't think that Percy Jackson slots into those great adaptations. I think it is like passable. I enjoy aspects of it. Even aspects that are changed from the books, like the Medusa scenes, the Medusa episode. I actually really like that. I thought it was a good episode. It is not a Percy Jackson story. Or it is vaguely, but it is not the Percy Jackson story that I wanted. However, the moments in that story, the way that the situation happens, the nuance and the moral quandary of like, is Medusa the monster, or is she a survivor, or is she like this or that? Like, I like that. I think that's really interesting. It is not what I wanted from Percy Jackson, and that is mostly the crux of this. Is this is a version of Percy Jackson. It is not the Percy Jackson, right? And I guess it actually is the Percy Jackson, and the version that I liked is not Percy Jackson anymore. It is a version of him, right? This is the definitive version now. It is the latest version that Rick Riordan has worked on, so it is what it is, but I don't like it. It makes me sad. I feel like I should have liked it, and I don't, and that sucks. I also feel like maybe I should be angry about the fact that I didn't like it, and I can't be, because I can't rationalize being angry at someone for changing something they worked on before and changing it to what they think is better now, right? Like, ultimately, the story is his. He can do with it what he wants, right? But at the same time, the reason why it's popular is because of people like me, right? Kids that grew up reading the story, that enjoyed it, that have kept the Empress alive. Well, I haven't done that personally, but, like, you understand what I'm saying, right? And it sucks that I don't really have, like, an outlet for the sadness or the desolation, I guess. That sounds really, like, dramatic. Like, the melancholy I feel for the fact that this show, this thing, this IP that I'm very much attached to at one point, no longer feels like it's for me. And that sucks. Now, I'm not going to go on Twitter and cry about it and get mad, but I am definitely going to make a video about it and talk about it and kind of be sad and remorseful about it, because it sucks. Like, I was wishing that this would be awesome, that I would enjoy this thing, that I would see this Percy Jackson fight these monsters, and it would be in person, and it would look awesome and wonderful. And what I got was like a really weirdly abridged version of that. The monster fights are so short, they're not enjoyable. Like, I'm not necessarily saying the whole episode should be monster fights, but they should be more relevant. They should be more important. Like, sure, hero stories are about morality, ultimately, or about sending a message, but they're also about monster fighting. That is why monsters exist. They are partially a simile or a metaphor. I think metaphor is the right word there. And they're also partially a physical obstacle that our character has to overcome. And I don't feel like any of these monsters felt like obstacles. And I don't feel like Percy Jackson had any difficulty at all. He also kind of felt suicidal to a weird degree in this show. He wanted to sacrifice himself at all costs all the time. And I don't necessarily think that comes off as healthy. I also don't think that it fits like the nature of the original character. Like, he was, ridiculous and very rowdy and kind of like willing to kind of, say fuck it and do things, but he wasn't suicidal, in my opinion. I feel like Harry Potter is a little bit more like that than Percy Jackson, right? But the way that the show portrays him, he's significantly more intelligent. He's not really conniving enough. Like, Percy Jackson has a dark side to him, and I didn't really feel like he came off like that. There's a certain edge to the character. I think the actor has a little bit of an edge to him. Not much, a little bit. Mostly from being Ryan Reynolds' little apprentice, I guess. But I don't feel like they managed to capture that. Grover kind of felt extraneous. Like, there was nothing that he was doing that was important. We didn't get to see Percy talk to horses. I was really excited about that. I thought it would be hilarious to just have like a random horse talk to him and him be like, what the fuck is going on? That would have been really funny. The story didn't feel funny. I liked all of the things that they did with Sally, but it changed her from a very, like it changed her from one type of powerful woman to a different type of powerful woman, I guess. And I don't know that I like the change. I don't know how to explain it. Sally was willing to endure bad things and be a weak person for the sake of her son, right? She kind of lacked agency in the original books. And maybe that's not correct for 2024, but there was a way to spin that to make it much more powerful than it was originally, that didn't involve changing her as a character, right? She was supposed to love her son so much that she was willing to put up with whatever she needed to put up with in order to save him. And then she also had the kind of like gumption, I guess is the word, to fuck with Gabe at the end of the book, right? And I think that the movie managed to capture this a little bit better. I'm not really sure, actually. Like I mentioned before, I don't think I've watched the movie recently enough to have clear memories of it. But I know it was different from how the show handled it. And I feel like the Sally of my memories was better than the Sally that I saw on TV. I like the actress. I think she did a good job. I actually really liked the scene between her and Poseidon. I thought that was a good change or a good situation. Something I don't remember from the books, but that worked really well for me. But she felt less like a woman willing to do whatever she needed for her son, and more like a woman exasperated with her reality, but doing her best. And although I guess the second is more realistic, the first is a lot more significant, and I really would have preferred that version, right? But I don't know, maybe they didn't want to do it because it might feel a little bit too biblical, maybe? I don't I don't know. I'm not sure. What else? I like the god characters. I don't like Hades that much. I didn't dislike him, but I like the like angry rocker guy from the movie a bit better, although that doesn't really fit the character either. I just like that version better, right? I found it to be more enjoyable. However, the Hades from the book that I remember was not this like vaguely comedic guy. He was like serious and powerful and dark, but not evil, right? And so I feel like they missed with that. I actually like Lin-Manuel Miranda as Hermes, although I didn't really think that he did anything Hermes-like. He was just kind of himself, kind of like a darker version of himself. He's very like nice usually, right? He has this very like puppy dog energy, right? Although maybe he's bad. I don't know. Some people have had problems with it recently. I don't really know what's going on, but you know, from what I remember from when I was into Hamilton and watching videos and interviews of him all over the place, he has this very like positive puppy dog energy. And the way that he played Hermes was kind of a little bit darker than that. And that worked, but I don't really think that is Hermes. I feel like there should have been a little bit more fun to him, right? A little bit more pranking, a little bit kind of like almost meanness to him that isn't like completely bad. He should have been a little bit more like the Weasley twins, right? But he worked. I was fine with that. What else? Medusa was good. Like I said, I liked her a lot. I just don't think that she was like the right character for this version of Percy Jackson, right? Otherwise, I don't know. I don't hate anything, but I don't like the show. Like, it just didn't, like, it didn't work for me. I feel like the pacing was really weird. Sometimes it felt really slow, and sometimes it felt too fast. And when it felt too fast, it was like when it should have been slower. Like, the battle with the Minotaur is like the thing from which the story hinges, right? It is like the first moment, the first struggle, the first, like, possibility of like, oh my god, this kid might die, and he might die like soon, right? And so I don't feel like the show managed to give you that information properly. Also, the first episode should have been longer, and there should have been better ways to work on the exposition, because in a book that works, but I don't feel like it was enjoyable to watch. And so it sounds weird that I'm like, I don't like changes, but also asking people to change this. And I think it's because this is not a change of what happens. It is a change of how you show me what happens. Because it's boring as fuck to listen to Sally and Grover just give like ridiculous information to Percy, and then him barely reacting because he's like, what the fuck is going on, man? Like, I have no clue what's going on. I'm just tired. And my mom's telling me crazy shit. And oh shit, my friend has a donkey leg. Like, I don't know. Something about the way that the characters were interacting in the show just didn't, like, click. Like, it didn't, like, like, I don't know, maybe it needed more polishing. Or maybe it needed to be rougher on the edges. I'm not really sure. I don't know how to articulate what I'm feeling about this show. It's just disappointment, I guess. But in a way that doesn't... I don't know. It's just like, I'm sad, and I feel like I should feel more, and I don't. And that's weird. I don't know. So, yeah, those are my thoughts on Percy Jackson, the series, the season 1. Maybe season 2 will be better. I'm not really sure. I wonder when they'll make it, because these kids are going to age up pretty fast. These people are going to get, adult looking real soon. So we got to put this as fast as possible. I don't really like the strategy of like filming seasons at a time all in one sequence, because I think that that's not healthy for actors. But at the same time, maybe it's useful here if you're gonna do these kind of like bare minimum kind of stories or versions of the show. They did it for Wheel of Time. I don't like that they did it for Wheel of Time, because I think that show needed a lot of work. But I'm willing to deal with it for Percy Jackson, because it doesn't seem like I feel that much about it anymore. And that makes me sad. So, yeah. I don't know, man. I feel really weird. And I think this is the same feeling that I had at the end of the last video. So, let me know what you guys thought. I know this was all over the place. I'm sorry. I don't script my videos in general. Actually, I kind of do. I read a review. Based on that review, I mentioned my video, mentioned things about this, or based on that review, I talk about things in my video. However, in this case, I didn't feel like I could articulate correctly, so I just decided to talk. And I think there's enough cohesion here that I can get a video out of it. So let's hope that is the case. Thank you guys so much for watching, and see you guys later.